Alright, today we're talking about Amazon FBA. Whether it's worth it or not, the risks, the profits, and realistic goals from an Amazon seller. But pay attention, because I'm going to give you the steps to be successful with Amazon, and if you don't follow them, you could end up like other Amazon sellers who quit after a week or a month of trying it. So first things first, let's talk about realistic goals. When I first started Amazon FBA, I started with $500 in product and not a whole lot of time. I was working 2 jobs at the time, trying to make ends meet. Now I knew this wouldn't be easy, but I think people underestimate how long it can take to get good at sourcing, which is finding good products to sell in your Amazon store. Now, I spent about a month working with my mentor, sharpening my sourcing skills before I was confident enough to make my first buy on my own. Now, in my mentorship, I give leads to my students to buy and sell that I'm personally selling in my store, because I feel like that's a hurdle that most people fail at, is buying their first product. So if you can have someone provide that first product for you and sort of get you started, it can make a world of a difference. But just know, if you're starting this thing alone, you will have weeks of sourcing without finding any products, because you're starting a new skill. This is a skill that makes me $32,000 a month. Now, a skill like that is not going to be easy to learn, and it's not going to be quick. It's not going to be instant. You're going to have to put time into it. You're going to have to learn how to read Keepa charts. You're going to have to learn how to look at Seller Amp and compare monthly sales to sailors. Dive into things like variations. Learn what a good target BSR is, and learn how to look at all the data on a product and determine whether it is good to sell or not, whether it is a good investment for you to put in your store or not. This takes time, and this is where I see new sellers give up most frequently. So if you're starting Amazon FBA, just be ready to source for a long time without finding anything necessarily profitable right away. Second thing is investment. How much really should you have to invest in Amazon FBA to start making like an income? Well, first off, you're going to need to pay for a couple things up front. You're going to need 3 accounts: a seller central account, which is where you sell your items on. You're going to need a Seller Amp account, a tool that you'll use to look at data for products. And then you'll need Keepa, which is another data tool that basically compares like the history of the product and how it's doing. A Seller Central Pro Merchant account is $40 per month. You can get the free version, but they charge you $1 per item that you ship out, so I would always suggest going with the paid version. Seller Amp is, you get a 14-day free trial, and then after that you pay $25 per month, I believe, and then Keepa is $20 a month. Now, after those accounts, you're going to need some sort of label printer, and you're also going to need a scale. The label printer I have was like $180, but it's a really fancy Rollo printer. You don't really need it. You can find one for like $50 on Amazon. Now, the scale, you don't need anything fancy for a scale. Just make sure it can weigh up to like 10 pounds. Now, as far as first product investment, I invested like $300 into my first product just so I could get like an idea of if I was going to be successful on Amazon or not. And I'm glad that I did. I would definitely suggest you do the same. Even if you have more money to work with, I would suggest starting small so that you can sort of get a grasp on what it's like to ship out products, what it's like to get ungated. That way you're not having to do all of this new process for a bunch of items at once. Next, let's talk about time. When I first started this, I was working 2 jobs, literally working 2 jobs and doing Amazon FBA whenever I got home. I did not sleep. For a long time, I was getting poor sleep while I was grinding, and I was probably putting about like 3 hours a day into it. So I would say minimum have like an hour a day to work on your Amazon store if you're just looking to start. Now, let's say you got all that in place, right? You got an hour a day to work on your store. You've got the money that it takes for the accounts, and you got some money to invest into your first product. Now you need to go into it with the correct mindset. My Amazon FBA success curve looks something like a flat line for like 2.5 months, and then a straight shoot up once I started learning and implementing systems that I probably should have been doing the whole time. You need to go into this with a long-term mindset. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme, and it's not something you're going to put $100 into and end up with $500,000 by tomorrow. But if you treat it right, and if you learn the skills that are required, you can make it to making $10K a month pretty quickly, within like 3 or 4 months. And then after that, if you are like an entrepreneur type that wants to scale, you can scale very quickly. Once I started making $10K a month, I scaled to $30K a month within the next 2 months. Now, this is a very inventory-based business, so that means that, especially in the beginning, you should be reinvesting your profits as much as possible. Now, let's talk about scaling, because a lot of people don't know what's possible with Amazon. Yes, Amazon can be a side hustle and it can replace your 9 to 5, but People don't know how far you can actually scale this thing. I am not even all the way scaled up yet, and I'm at a point now where I don't have to touch products, I don't have to source, I really don't have to do anything but make buys and deal with logistics. You can scale this to a point where you are doing wholesale. All you're doing is buying products, sending them to a prep center in a tax-free state like Delaware, where they prep the items and they ship them to Amazon or ship them to the customer. You never have to look at them. You can have wholesale accounts with big brands like Fiji to where you don't have to source as much, and you can also hire virtual assistants to source for you online while you are off doing whatever you like. And this is kind of where I'm at, where I'm making $32K per month, and I'm still working like maybe 3 to 5 hours a week on my business. I'm just making sure everything that runs very smoothly. Now let's talk about risks. A lot of people ask me what happens if my items don't sell. That's a good question. We're buying from big box retailers like Walmart, Target, CVS, Walgreens, etc. You know the drill. That means that if we buy 100 of one item from Walmart and none of them sell, all I gotta do is pack them up in my vehicle, drive them back to Walmart, tell them I made a mistake, and return them all. Never had an issue doing this, never had a student have an issue doing this. So it's almost like you're borrowing the products and waiting for them to sell. So it's almost like you're having Walmart take the risk for you and making a profit on their dime. Now, how quickly can you see success? I usually tell people to do head down hard work on Amazon for about 6 months and see where you end up. That's because everyone's journey is going to be different. Everyone starts with a different amount of capital to invest in inventory. Everyone starts with a different amount of time. But just as an example, speaking from experience, I started this with 2 jobs with $500, and it took me about 9.5 months to scale where I'm at now, making $32K per month. Now, I know that seems like a long time, but if I would have known that I could do this years ago, I would have started so much earlier. Literally, the only complaint I have with Amazon is that I wasn't starting earlier. If you're watching this video and you're like on the fence, bro, get started. Head down, work, hustle, and don't stop until you reach that 10K per month mark, because I promise you, it will be like spinning your wheels in the beginning. It's going to be frustration. It's going to be anger. It's going to be like, can I do this? Doubt. And then one day you'll wake up and you're making 10K per month. I promise you, that's the way it works. That's the way it worked for me. All of my students that have been successful, it's the way it works for them. They're like out of nowhere. They're just like, it feels like yesterday that when I sucked at sourcing and now I'm making 10K per month. There's this kid in there that's 21 that I know making 10K per month. Shout out to him. I'm gonna have him on the channel soon. As you see, there's low risk, there's high reward. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes money. It is not passive income as a lot of people say, but you can scale it to be almost passive if you do it the right way. So that's my little spiel for today, man. If you need any mentorship for Amazon FBA, DMs are always open. Hit me on IG, hit me on TikTok, however you gotta find me, man. Appreciate y'all locking in with me. Let me know what y'all want to see on the channel too. Gonna be starting to do vlogs, showing my cars, showing my apartment and stuff like that, going on trips, so stay tuned for that. Gonna go visit Hood Rich and Zach and Savage Credit all in Miami this weekend, so stay tuned. Y'all keep locked in, and I'll see y'all in the next one.